Those. This is this here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with a test raw, 2D, and we'll go ahead and. Can you guys read it? Should I change the resolution? Cannot read it, right? Okay, I'm going to change the resolution. Let's switch to 1024 by 17. Is that better? Okay. All right, so I'm going to keep all the defaults here and change it to using Android 3.0 or API 11 as the minimum. And I'll just take all the defaults for the next few parts of this. All right. It's getting there. All right. Okay, so we do have everything up and running. And here's my default screen. Let me minimize the portions that I don't need so that we can see better the portion that we do need to see, which is this part here. I don't have a need for the text view anymore, so I'm going to delete the text view because I'm not going to use it at all for this particular example. What I will do is I'm going to go to Advanced here, and under Advanced you can see the view with the uppercase is an option. So you can drag and drop that one onto your main screen, and you can basically resize it, move it around in your main screen. Okay. This view cannot do a single thing because there's nothing special about the on-draw method of this particular view. So one thing you do have to override first in order for your view to do some custom painting or custom drawing is to override, okay, this is my own notes again. So what you need to do is to override the on-draw method. So we are down here. The most important method of the draw of a view object is the on-draw method. So this is the one thing that we have to override in order to do something useful. So when we get back into Eclipse, what we need to do is to define our own custom class derived from the view class, and then we can switch this view to use our own class as an object to represent. Good morning.
Am I in the right class?
Yeah.
You're in Windows.
Yeah, because I messed up my Linux distribution, so it will not start up the GUI environment.
You want to borrow mine?
No, I'm good. I just have some post-processing to do when it comes to the screen recording. We'll deal with that later. All right. So what we'll do is we're going to start a new class, and when we start a new class, we can also define what class is derived from. So in the case of the superclass, this time we want to specify Android .view lowercase .view as an uppercase. That is my superclass. And the name of this one, we can just call that custom view as my class name. Now obviously, you probably don't want to use custom view as your own class name because it doesn't really specify what is so custom about it. Okay, but in this class, since it's really a test program, I'm okay with just calling it custom view. And then we click finish, and now we have our custom view extending view. Okay, and there's a warning here. Okay, when you go over this, it complains about implicit super constructor view is undefined for default constructor. That means view as a superclass does not have any default constructors, and as a result, the subclass cannot do a single thing about those super constructors, and as a result, we have to add the corresponding constructors that view as a superclass has, and they all take parameters. So we'll go ahead and implement or add the constructors here. And that's not the only one, he has to add all 3 constructors. And he's only adding 1, so I'm going to add the other 2. They all start with context as the first parameter, and then one specifies attributes as the second one, as the second parameter. And then from here, we just call.
Well then.
Hey,
Are you serious right now?
see, that's why I don't use Windows.
Oh boy.
It's me, okay? It's me actually causing this to happen. I use Windows.
A transformer.
I think they were working on something over there.
Well then.
So,
Well, I guess they will be working on something now.
For sure.
Well, why is it in California, every time it rains, a transformer blows? Seriously.
I have no idea.
But have you noticed that though? Every time it rains.
It's not even windy today. It's not
Why
like
not?
a pole is blown down. That's the UPS
Yeah.
beeping.
Well, still recording.
You're still recording.
A
not
video
mine.
as well.
The video too?
Yeah,
Oh, you have your phone?
clear. So,
All right.
if anything that you're recording was lost, I still have a copy.
Yay.
we have light.
Well, I got
Oh,
something better. What?
That was bright.
Now I have my tactical flashlight.
You know, of all the things that I have with me, I don't have a flashlight.
See?
You know what I do have though at home? I have one of those little LED lanterns. I
Oops,
use
sorry.
in my bag.
The hand
I can
puppets
use
now?
the cranberry. I'm gonna use the bag of cranberry as my as my bean bag here. We are alright for the most part.
We're a
We
bunch
can
of,
do shadow play.
hold on, we're a bunch of geeks without any electricity. We're not doing okay.
We got dry markers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, so I can still teach this class, believe it or not, I can still teach it. Okay, so what we need to do is to define, well, that doesn't show very well, does it?
Might want to go with black.
Yeah. We need to go find one first. Right there?
That's the single weakness of the technology computers.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no power, there's no programmer, there's no software.
No, generators and battery backups will be fine.
I should have brought along my little Honda 2000 watt generator.
Yeah.
Put it outside, run the long extension cable. No, a 50-foot would do. I mean, this is not really that far. I have a 100-foot 14-gauge extension cord at home.
I saw something on ThinkGeek this morning that I think that reminds me of you. It's a bug out bag with a solar panel in it.
And an air gun.
I'm not sure if it has an air gun.
Hey, a bug out kit? Are you kidding me? You gotta have an air gun and a mold too,
Yeah.
so I can mold my own pellets. Okay, so we have our custom view class that is derived from. Okay, how do we say it? It's extends a regular view. Okay. So inside here, we have the 3 constructors that we have to specify. There are 3 constructors that are already defined in the superclass view. So custom view has to define all 3 types here as well, because those are needed by the Android application framework when you integrate this custom view into your application, into the activity. So we have 3 of these things. Okay, they're fairly easy to do. You just have to call the appropriate constructor from the superclass, and do anything otherwise that you have to do here, and you're done. The most important one that you have to override. So here, these are not overriding. These are basically your own constructor, but they end up calling the superclass's own constructor. But what you do need to override is the onDraw method. Now the onDraw method of a view is basically a callback. It's a responding subroutine. And what it does, or when it is called, is when the Android framework is either displaying your application, or when it thinks the screen is invalidated because something just happened on top of the screen and now it disappeared, so you have to redraw your particular view. It will call the onDraw method in order to repaint everything in that particular view. So you have to override that one, and it's a public method. So public, it returns a Boolean. It returns a Boolean, basically, if it returns true, then everything is okay. If it returns false, I cannot remember. On draw, does it return anything? I cannot remember. So it may or may not have a return type, I cannot remember for sure. And it's called onDraw. It has one parameter. Now this parameter is really important because it is a canvas. Okay, it's a reference to a canvas. And here we can specify whatever we want to do in order to paint something on the canvas, which is representing the part of the view that you can actually put something onto. Question?
This
Yep.
is like a replication of that one project we did in the last class.
In a certain way it is, but in other ways, this is a lot more general also. This is only one of the many ways to display something custom in your own application. It's really designed for something that is not intensive, because onDraw is only called or invoked when the Android framework thinks that some parts of your screen needs to be repainted because something else appeared on top of that. Okay, so it's not really useful for games because it's not something that you have constant control over. It's basically just saying, okay, I think you need to repaint something because another activity just appeared on top of your activity, and that is now that other activity just disappeared. Then your onDraw method will be called in order to repaint that particular view. But it's not really useful for game purposes. Yep.
Yeah, I just would suggest them to change bool to void because
Okay.
we will return that.
It does not return the value. Okay. All right. So with onDraw, and because you are past the canvas, so now you can use the reference to a canvas to basically utilize any type of draw related method of a canvas. Earlier, before the power went down, we kind of took a look at all the various things that a canvas knows how to draw. A circle is one of those. Okay, so you can draw a circle. You can give it the coordinate of the center. So you have to specify the center of the horizontal. You have to specify the center of the vertical axis. You specify the radius of the circle, and then you can specify the paint of the circle. Okay, to how to draw the circle. The paint, once again, is basically specifying at the minimum. It can specify the color and also the alpha setting of the paint. So it controls the transparency as well as the color of whatever you're drawing.
So you have to give it the HK and R.
You have to give it, RGB A or A RGB
I'm talking
alpha,
about the 3 points. You have to give it the radius and then the HK.
the center,
Yeah,
right?
which would be H, K.
Right, exactly. So whatever you do here, is going to appear on the canvas, and the canvas is basically the visible part of your view on screen. So whatever you do here, it will appear on the screen. Okay. Are there any questions at this point about how to use a custom view? Yep.
So when this is invoked, whatever you specify in the override is going to happen.
Correct, but you do not call onDraw yourself.
No, I'm saying when the Android framework itself
Right.
calls it.
Exactly. So when your activity first appears, this will be called because when your activity is first appearing, and this particular view is a component of that activity, it will call onDraw just to initialize the initial screen. If you have anything appearing on top of that, it will, and that thing disappears. It will also call onDraw again because part of the screen was obscured, and it has to repaint itself just to restore the original view. Now there is, yep, go ahead.
Are the colors constant? And when do they exist?
Say again.
Are the colors constant? Like when you specify the color as a parameter, is it a constant?
The
Or-
canvas.
Yeah, like when you
You
say
say
C
blue.
dot draw circle,
Uh-huh.
at some point you're gonna have to say which color it is within the bracket.
That is correct. You mean the paint?
Yeah,
This parameter?
yeah.
That is up to you to decide.
But like choice of word, do we create a variable and define it, or is it a constant that exists already? So we just
It
say
is an
that-
object. It's a reference to a paint object.
Oh,
Yep. And then the other thing is, the Eclipse environment would actually say that you should not use a new operator inside OnDraw for efficiency reasons. So what you need to do is to have a paint object already allocated inside the custom view class. So by the time you get here, the paint object is already created, and then you can just customize your paint object in order to specify whatever color you want to use to paint whatever you need to do in this particular method. Yep.
So this circle, is it, like, just using circle as an example, is it gonna be like a filled-in circle?
It's a filled-in circle. It's
So-
a solid circle.
Is there a way to draw,
There's a draw arc.
okay, and so you
Yeah.
would just draw multiple arcs?
I think when you do a draw arc, you can draw a hollow circle because you can specify the starting point and the end point to form a one complete circle.
Can you specify, like, with the arc, can you specify the stroke pixel width?
That is on the paint itself, I believe.
So you would have to specify that, and
You have to specify that with the paint object.
Well, the,
Oops.
can paint be transparent?
Oops, sorry. Yeah. Using it as a prop.
Okay.
So I,
That's all right.
there you go.
Now this is mobile technology at its best. It's mobile technology and good old-fashioned flashlight and dry bar marker.
it seems to be working now. As long as that's not touched.
As long as we don't breathe.
Well, you guys can tell my dean about how we continue to function as a programming class during a power fail.
You put this on YouTube, and I'm going to straight up send it to Fox 40.
See, your tax money is actually
Hard at work.
hard at work. This is making the most of out of your tax money. Okay, so let me answer your question about draw arc as a method of canvas.
Can you use draw circle and for the paint be essentially a transparent paint?
If the paint is okay, when you do a draw circle, it draws a solid circle.
Yeah.
So if you make the paint transparent, then the
Yeah.
entire circle is transparent. There's no
Oh.
outline either.
No outline.
There's
What?
no outline.
What
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
how do you, is it a hex code paint?
The paint is specified as a 32-bit number.
Okay,
So
like
you have
256.
basic the usual RGB. I think the R is a bit 16 to 23. So basically, it's if you use 0x, AB, A B C D E F. AB would be the R. CD would be red,
G.
green, and then the last one, the least significant portion, would be blue. Okay, so I just got the canvas class.
I don't think there wouldn't be a way to specify transparent that way then, and if it's 256. Because the 256 color scheme only contains all reds, greens, and blue colors. There's no transparency.
No, the
Except for
transparency is set by alpha. So
Yeah.
there's a separate call to a paint object to set the alpha channel.
Oh,
So
there
the alpha channel is the one that sets the transparency. If you set alpha to 0, it is completely transparent. If
Right.
you set it to 255, it's completely opaque.
So it's a RVG hex in addition to an alpha.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the color itself does not include the alpha channel, so you have a separate call to set the alpha.
That makes sense.
Would that be inside the override then?
Will be including over the override.
Okay.
I'm not.
Would the alpha be inside the override? Like, so when you call draw circle, where do you set the alpha channel?
You'll be inside, this call here.
Okay.
On draw, would basically, you can specify, you can change the paint in on draw something, and then change the paint object again and draw something else. So basically, whatever you need to draw, you have to put it inside the on draw method, or make it call another thing, that will actually specify the logic to do that.
Gotcha.
But what is actually doing the painting would be the canvas. So the canvas methods, are basically the primitives of drawing something, but you can also, have additional classes defined for what they call drawable, objects. So you can actually have your own thing, as an object and say, okay, I'm gonna give you the canvas, I'll give you the paint, go do your own thing and draw whatever needs to be drawn. But the canvas will give you all the primitives. So you can draw text, you can draw arc, you can draw rectangles, you can draw polygons, polyline, and regular straight lines. So it does give you a lot of primitives, and I'm just trying to find draw arc here.
The unfortunate thing though is that if you use it in an application, every time the screen changes, it's going to redraw.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, this is not the recommended method
This
for
is just
games.
a primitive way of or the base way of looking at how to do a draw method, right?
Correct. So draw arc, specifies a rectangle. If the rectangle is what is going to contain the oval of that particular arc, it specifies the start angle, a sweep angle, which is the span, and also a boolean of use center. So let's see. I can click on that link.
So if you do that, then you would specify like a 90-degree angle, and then the center would still be the center of some type of circle.
Okay, I'm reading the documentation of draw arc itself. Draw the specified arc, which will be scaled to fit inside the specified oval. So the rectangle is basically the bounding box of the original oval itself. The start angle if it's negative or greater than or equal to 360, it will be treated as a start angle modulo 360. So basically, it will internally do the math to translate everything into 0 to 360 degrees, or just short of 360 degrees, because that's basically 0.
So if the start angle is greater than 360, then it's modulo
360.
360?
Yeah, so 361 degrees would be the same thing as 1 degree.
Okay, I was going to say, so that it uses the remainder to...
Correct.
Okay.
And the same thing with negative 359 degrees. That's also it's also the same thing as 1 degree. The sweep angle is how much you're sweeping. If the sweep angle is greater than or equal to 360, then it withdraws the entire thing.
Hey!
We got power. The question is, can we count on it?
I know that my eyes hurt. We were doing okay like that.
Yes, we were. All right. I hope there's no permanent damage to the electronics, because sometimes a brownout can kill electronics more so than a blackout.
Yeah. Oh, God forbid that we, something bad happens to these poor computers.
That's just a ventilation. We have life support again.
Can a surge protector or a specialty surge protector just cut the power in case of brownout?
Well, there's protections inside of the circuit boards that all this stuff's on too.
Right, but your power supply, does have a certain assumption of a minimum voltage. So if your actual incoming power is, below the minimum voltage, these power supplies may not, know what to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I know to answer your question, I know there are power supplies that are designed for if the electricity goes out, that it just it trickles out the power instead of just cutting it off immediately. If that makes sense. They have capacitors inside of them.
Oh yeah.
So that when they
Yeah, but the
Like a short
capacitors won't
UPC.
last very long.
No. Yeah. It's probably the one that has like a UPC functionality or something. I know my girlfriend has one for work.
Yeah, so you can catch those the minor. Dun-dun.
Yeah.
And of course, your camera has autofocus. Auto exposure. so it doesn't get bothered.
That was pretty cool. I could see it from back here, and like whenever the light changed,
Yeah.
it gradually switched over to adjustable light.
Flashlight.
Always prepared.
This will take a while because I think the power fail also affected the LDAP server campus. So
Probably
now
not gonna
everything
go
has
on.
to be reloaded over there. We have a long and warm welcome.
Do you think their server has their own?
UPS?
Yeah.
They might. Who knows?
Well,
It's a good thing that you saved Eclipse in your external drive.
Well, the Eclipse thing is on my external hard drive.
Yeah.
So it probably is the same.
Yeah, we won't have to download it again.
No. It's already, I was done decompressing already. So we have it on the flash drive.
One thing I noticed during the power out, the emergency light flashed twice and was dead.
Austin jumped it down and.
So right now it's just spinning all this electricity, keeping the battery topped up to immediately die.
Because the lead acid battery has not been changed over the past 10, 15 years. And it has basically died. That's,
What are you gonna do?
Good to hear that they're on top of these type of things.
You know, use all the.
well, what are we gonna do? I can give you the answer to that question. We take matters into our own hands.
Everyone pull out their cell phone or flashlight.
Well, it looks like the internet's up at least.
Well, it should be, I'm pretty sure some equipment, are protected from blackouts and whatnot. And looks like, does it remember my resolution? I think it's.
No, it's back to original.
Vincent just missed all that cycle.
You missed the blackout.
What's the blackout?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What?
during class.
Oh, did you have car trouble? Oh, no, I was getting 3 cars to 4 people.
Yeah, the traffic's pretty bad this morning.
Fail to create process.
Not necessary.
Not necessary at all.
Oh,
I have a question. Are there, while you're getting set up,
how long was the blackout?
are there like Wi-Fi projectors on the campus?
Oh,
These
wow.
are all
What'd you guys
Wi-Fi
do?
capable. The question is, if they're not, is whether they're enabled or not.
A couple of them are, because I picked them up.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna come to my external hard drive again.
Thought about